大家好，今天给大家演示一下使用 Zoom 来进行生成字幕。就是我们还是需要这个工具，然后需要准备一个2小时的静音视频，然后加载这个视频。等加载好之后，然后点击开始。我们现在一定要选择语言，点击连接会议。
Antidepressants were made from, of all things.
接下来几分钟是演示视频。
Today, 1 in 5 soldiers develop depression or post-traumatic stress disorder, or both. But it's not just soldiers that are at high risk for these diseases. It's firefighters, ER doctors, cancer patients, aid workers, refugees, anyone exposed to trauma or major life stress. And yet, despite how commonplace these disorders are, our current treatments, if they work at all, only suppress symptoms. In 1798, when Edward Jenner discovered the first vaccine, it happened to be for smallpox. He didn't just discover a prophylactic for a disease, but a whole new way of thinking, that medicine could prevent disease. However, for over 200 years, this prevention was not believed to extend to psychiatric diseases. Until 2014, when my colleague and I accidentally discovered the first drugs that might prevent depression and PTSD. We discovered the drugs in mice, and we're currently studying whether they work in humans. And these preventative psychopharmaceuticals are not antidepressants. They're a whole new class of drug, and they work by increasing stress resilience, so let's call them resilience enhancers. So think back to a stressful time that you've since recovered from, maybe a breakup or an exam, you missed a flight. Stress resilience is the active biological process that allows us to bounce back after stress, similar to if you have a cold and your immune system fights it off. And insufficient resilience in the face of a significant enough stressor can result in a psychiatric disorder, such as depression. In fact, most cases of major depressive disorder are initially triggered by stress. And from what we've seen so far in mice, resilience enhancers can protect against purely biological stressors like stress hormones and social and psychological stressors like bullying and isolation. So here is an example where we gave mice 3 weeks of high levels of stress hormones. So in other words, a biological stressor without a psychological component. And this causes depressive behavior. And if we give 3 weeks of antidepressant treatment beforehand, it has no beneficial effect. But a single dose of a resilience enhancer given a week before completely prevents the depressive behavior, even after 3 weeks of stress. And this is the first time a drug has ever been shown to prevent the negative effects of stress. Depression and PTSD are chronic, often lifelong clinical diseases. They also increase the risk of substance abuse, homelessness, heart disease, Alzheimer's, suicide. The global cost of depression alone is over $3 trillion per year. But now, imagine a scenario where we know someone is predictively at high risk for exposure to extreme stress, say a Red Cross volunteer going into an earthquake zone. In addition to the typhoid vaccine, we could give her a pill or an injection of a resilience enhancer before she leaves. So when she is held at gunpoint by looters or worse, she would at least be protected against developing depression or PTSD after the fact. It won't prevent her from experiencing the stress, but it will allow her to recover from it. And that's what's revolutionary here. By increasing resiliency, we can dramatically reduce her susceptibility to depression and PTSD, possibly saving her from losing her job, her home, her family, or even her life. After Jenner discovered the smallpox vaccine, a lot of other vaccines rapidly followed. But it was over 150 years before a tuberculosis vaccine was widely available. Why? In part because society believed that tuberculosis made people more sensitive and creative and empathetic, and that it was caused by constitution and not biology. And similar things are still said today about depression. And just as Jenner's discovery opened the door for all of the vaccines that followed after, the drugs we've discovered open the possibility of a whole new field, preventative psychopharmacology. But whether that's 15 years away or 150 years away, depends not just on the science, but on what we as a society choose to do with it. Thank you.
等到结束的时候，一定要点一下 stop， 然后这样的话才会在下面生成字幕，然后你可以点击编辑全部，就可以复制全部的文字了。如果是发现没有全部翻译的话，那你就可以重新翻译一遍，然后拉到最底，就能显示出全部的翻译文字了。如果是想要是字幕格式的，那你就可以点击 SRT 或者是 ASS 等等这些字幕格式。如果想要字幕编辑，那我这里有一个更好用的一个在线工具，就是它可以批量的去迁移它的时间线，这样的话或者是增删字幕也是免费的。
Nice.